Good morning. Welcome. Um, I'm Allison Troy, Retro Toy Princess. And I'm trying to get back in the habit of streaming. It's a little bit earlier today than my normal time, but I've got some stuff I need to do later. And instead of just skipping, I was like, well, why not start a little early? So today I'm going to be doing at least one page from the Star Wars Heroes and Villains coloring book from 1997. So this was special edition era. Pretty stylized, as you can see. And if you've been here for one of these before, you know I've done both of these pages on stream. Today I picked Old Ben Obi-Wan. And if I finish that one today, we'll start on a Jawa, Het Nikir. I guess that's how you say it. And this was the era where, because of the Star Wars card game that I think Decipher was doing, everybody got a name. So whenever you see a weird Star Wars name on a random background character, it likely came from that game. Lucasfilm did have to approve them, so technically they're canon. But yeah, so anyway, so if we finish Old Ben, which we possibly could, because it's not so super complicated of a page, we'll start a Jawa. And yeah, so just hang out and chat and whatnot. Let's get him centered. There we go. Oh, I think the camera is a little off, but that's fine. Yeah, so everything is kind of thrown together. I am in my new space, and I'm still organizing everything. So this is the way it is right now, but may not be the same way in the coming weeks as I get everything settled, and definitely won't be the same in a month or two when we finish the remodel for my studio. So it's a sort of temporary, but you know, it is what it is. So I'm going to grab my stencil, and we're going to start out by giving Obi-Wan like a sun or a planet or something. Not sure yet what it's going to be, but it will be something. I'm just going to outline that with blue, because regardless of what it ends up being, whatever other color I use, the blue should disappear. Alright, so I'm going to actually, for the background, I think I'm just going to do some space. Because why not? So I'm going to get my black Quran Dash Neo Color 2. I'm just going to go in and do this. Oh, and we've got some comments really quick. Good morning, Derek. Hello. No worries. Happy day after Thanksgiving to you as well. If you are watching this and you missed it on Wednesday, we also went a little earlier than normal, but we did an episode of Retro Cavalcade, aka the Rural Juror, with myself, Derek, and of the Yesterday's podcast, and Andrew of Gady's Toys, and our special guest, Chris Plastic from Shiny Plastic People. We kind of just hung out and talked toys and Black Friday, and yeah, so it was a fun little hangout. Much needed, because yesterday I spent most of the day cooking, which I've not done in a while, but we're in a new place, so it felt right to christen our first Thanksgiving by doing a whole ass turkey. So, and I've not done a whole ass turkey in a really long time, so it's a little bit more involved than I remember. But it came out pretty good. It was not dry, so I did not repeat the sins of my mother, who used to always deliver either dry turkey or dry stuffing. So the turkey was pretty good, and my stuffing is never dry, because instead of, I just use the box stuff, but I start out by cooking up some bacon, and then sauteing my vegetables in that bacon grease. Sorry for any vegans. And then I mix that all in with the box mix. When after the box mix is added to the is done. And instead of boiling water for the box mix, I use either beef or chicken broth. This year I used beef because I had one of those boxes of the broth, and it was a little bit older than my chicken broth. So I went ahead and used the oldest thing first because that's how you do it. And it was fine. It's not like it makes that big of a difference. It was a cornbread stuffing, not a chicken, so I think it worked fine. And I'm just gonna do sort of like a galaxy effect behind them, but I'm gonna start with a bunch of black. And if I were feeling more artistic today, we would turn this like into a Death Star, but I am not feeling that artistic today. I'm feeling artistic enough to color and enjoy the process of that. But figuring out a Death Star, not so much. We just do like a planet. Like those planets are fun. And you can kind of just make those up. So. And I am going to hum a little bit of music, just because it helps. Let's see. I think. Let's see. Was it? We'll do Into Space. Oh no, we're not going to do Into Space. That one's too much. This is called Acoustic Cinematic. We'll just go with the old standby. Feeding Ducks. Just because I need a little something other than the grinding of computers this morning. I have only had half a cup of coffee so far. It takes a lot more than that. This, again, like I said earlier, I just decided to jump on a little bit earlier than normal. But I usually head for 2 p.m. on a Friday, because usually every other Friday I'm off from my day job. This week, of course, Black Friday, it's a little different. We're just off for the rest of the week for Thanksgiving holiday. But normally I have a little bit more coffee on my Friday off. So I'm going to now go in with Night Blue. And I'm just going to sort of overlap it. Once I start getting the water in, this will sort of help with the gradient look. Once we activate these. But also if you overlap, it helps make it look a little bit more natural. And not like Neapolitan ice cream. And because real space, of course, there would be a gradient if you were out in space. But also, it would not just be perfect lines. So I would definitely recommend if you're wanting to do sort of galaxy effects, go look at some of the NASA space pictures. A lot of that's up for free, just to sort of get a vibe for how it looks. Hello, Oz. Oz is one of the things, one of the errands for later. Oz and I are going to be, we are collaborating on a Star Wars project. And we're going to be meeting at the time, one of the times I would normally stream on Fridays-ish, so that we can work on that. So that's exciting. And I'll have more information closer to, but it's a really fun project, and I'm excited to be working with Oz on it. Oz is one of my favorite creators here on YouTube. He has created an amazing community for us to hang out and just be. So, and that takes effort, and you know, not everyone can create a community. See it all the time on YouTube channels that are in the toy sphere where there's just no community around them. I mean, they get a lot of views because, you know, some of them have decent content. They don't have real communities. You know. For my 2 cents, I would much rather have a community than just all the views. So it's a great effort. And then he even did a Thanksgiving stream last night for those who might have needed a place to hang out. I was supposed to be there and then fell asleep on the couch. Too much turkey, too much cooking. It was nice. And we have a pellet stove here in our new place instead of like a normal heater. And I'm going to say I was not convinced on the merits of a pellet stove until it kicks in. And then I'm like, okay, I get this. So it's a little bit more organic. Not that that really matters, but yeah, you put wood pellets in it and there you are. So, but also more effective than, say, a fireplace would be. Let's get some purple down here. And then I'm gonna move it up so that everything is nice and blended. There we go. And I'm gonna actually add a little bit of purple up here in this black. Again, just once the water activates, it'll help give it a space look. And not a lot, but a little bit of this. Neo Color calls this purple, but obviously this is like a fuchsia dark pink. The one I was calling purple is violet. It's definitely more, in my opinion, of a violet, of a purple than a violet. But I don't work for Karan Dash, so I'm not quite as knowledgeable apparently on art and the name of things. Hello, welcome. Lovely to see you, titular heroine. And Gatey's Toys here. Hello, everyone. So, if you weren't here on Sunday and this with the current setup, basically the way it is the computer is over to my left, so that way. So I can't see comments as easily as the old setup. But the nice thing is I'm not squished it on my desk. But I do have. Oh, wait, let me get that. I was about to show you how I have it pulled up on my phone, but there's a big message from my father, which would technically dox me. So let's not dox myself. Since I've got, you know, depending on which phone my dad is calling from, it literally says, like, the town he is in. So that's not too bad. So anyway, okay, so it's pulled up. So this is how I see you guys' comments. So still not perfect, but not terrible. So it at least it pops up so that I know to look over and highlight someone's comment or reply to it. So it's a work in progress. Once you get everything set up properly, that won't be an issue. But still unpacking, still setting up, still configuring the temporary office, and trying to configure in a way so when the actual workspace / shop is done, I can just easily like move stuff without having to like be a big production. All right. So I'm gonna leave this as is because I'm gonna go in with actual Prismacolors for that. But now's the fun part. Cobweb is probably crashed out because I think he's still working nights. But this is the part that Cobb likes. And some of you have asked about this and about sort of this stuff. It's just a water brush You can put water in the end here. I have a cup with water and I dip it in. Some people will use a paintbrush for this because they have more control. I, for whatever reason, have a hard time with the shape of a paintbrush, and do better with the water pen. So it's a little different for everyone. I'm just gonna activate it and move it around, and that helps give it that watercolor look. It helps get a good blend, especially for a galaxy effect. I think, yeah, I saw originally an effect like this on the channel Color with Claire, one of my favorite color tubers, and went out and bought the Karan Dash specifically to try her galaxy effect, because I knew with doing Star Wars pages I was going to want some cool space effects. And I used it also for like She-Ra and He-Man. But yeah, so, and I liked it so much, I spent a lot of money on one of the bigger sets this time last year. So, definitely a fun tool, definitely a spendy tool. I don't know if there are any sort of companies that do a version of it that's less expensive, but I quite like them, and I recommend them if you're looking. You know, most people who are doing any sort of adult coloring, this is probably not anything you would really need. And a lot of the adult coloring books are on paper that these don't work well on, but they're fun. I enjoy them. It also goes a lot faster than if I were trying to color this with color pencils. So if you ever wonder why I've been using these a lot more in videos, it's because instead of something taking 6 to 8 hours to film, I can now get it done in half the time by using this. So I filmed a color and chill the other night that would have been about 6 to 8 hours before that I got in free, because I use this for everything but He-Man and Skeletor. So, and again, I like that watercolor look to it. Also super bright, some of the colors especially, so it almost has an animated look, which works really well for He-Man. So, exactly, you gotta watch out for that wizard sleeve. Yeah, like, and that's kind of why I do it. Hopefully people get that from it. Oh, nice. Yeah, water pens, they took me a little time to get used to the sort of functioning of them, but once I did, I prefer them to a paintbrush. I mean, I haven't really tried them with anything but watercolor pencils and use those Karan Dash water soluble. So I don't know how it would work if I tried with acrylics, but definitely I'm gonna try all the different materials. Once the shop is up, I'll be able to start customizing figures again, because I'll actually have. I mean, I could do that now. I actually have enough room once I get everything unpacked that I'll have a work area. So, looking forward to, but also just after the hell of moving across, you know, like 5.5, 6 hours across state, and all sort of the driving back and forth, and I am not in a rush to unpack because it took just forever to get everything packed and moved. It's like I unpack a box a day. Sometimes it has toys in it or art supplies, and that's exciting. And then other days it's like clothes. I do need to find someplace I can donate, like a church or a Salvation, well, not Salvation Army, I hate them, or like Goodwill or something, to, you know, like, I definitely don't need a 20-year-old t-shirt. It's fine, but, you know, it's just, I definitely am not in a stage in life where I'm going to wear a shirt that says "Word to Your Mother." That was a fun summer, though. I actually, the world has come so far. I remember wearing that "Word to Your Mother" shirt at the mall, and some old man lecturing me on how disrespectful it was. And at the time, I was like, "Sir, I am 26. You can fuck off with that." Oh, there's my one F word for the day. But I don't know. He's the same kind of man who always says, you know, you would be so much prettier if you smiled. Gotta love it. So, but my standard response to those men at this point is, I would smile more if you were less of a disappointment. And I can tell you, they don't enjoy that sort of feedback. So, hopefully, they will remember that feedback next time they are inclined to tell someone to smile so they'll look prettier. Because, yeah. Yeah, right. It's a baby doll shirt, Oz. I would send it to you because it would be funny to see you try to squeeze in. I can't even really fit into it anymore because, you know, things happen. No matter how good of shape you are, if you are not in your 20s anymore and you can still fit into your 26-year-old anorexic clothes, there's a problem. So, yeah. Yeah, I've been playing with paint pens. It's a total ordeal. Right? Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why, you know, and you know, I will say, like, if I give it to some, you know, like donate it somewhere locally, it'll likely go to like some broke teenager who needs that level of sass in their life. Or his life, or their life. Like, I'm not, you know. It's for all the kids who might need that level of sass and want to rock a baby doll shirt, so. And forget the world has changed. And I shouldn't, but I just, sometimes I do. And there are even heterosexual young men who would enjoy the sass of that baby doll shirt and rock it, so I will donate it so the right person, it can come into the life of the right person. Because I know whenever I used to go to like thrift shops and Goodwill and stuff, in my lean days to shop, I would always appreciate finding something utterly ridiculous and utterly cool. I got one time at Goodwill, I found it was a brass, it was a sugar bowl, but it was shaped like an apple. And of course, with brass, if you polish it, it looks gold. So I then built a costume around that, and I went to a New Year's party dressed as Eris, goddess of discord, with the apple, and I had went and written, you know, like got notebook paper and wrote a bunch of sort of mean, like fortune cookies, but mean, and then I cut them out and folded them up and I put them in the apple. So throughout the night of the party, I would go around and I'd be like, "Oh, you need to take a fortune from the golden apple." And there was this lady there who was not one of my favorite people in the world, and she wore this hideous outfit. And this is how you know sometimes the universe, the God, the fate, etc., have a sense of humor. And one of the things I put, there's, if you've ever seen Kids in the Hall Brain Candy, there's this point where one of the doctors does a speech at the end, and it's like, we didn't make this drug, you know, we made it for people with severe depression. We didn't make it because you missed your bus or you had a bad day or you don't look good in a yellow hat. And right when he says that, the camera pans back and there's a lady standing in line and she has this horrible yellow hat on. And to me, that's just like one of the funniest jokes. Because as he's like giving the speech, he's kind of like looking around the room. And he's like, you know, you missed your bus. And then he like, off camera. He's looking in her direction where she is, and he's like, "Oh, you don't look good in a yellow hat." And he just pans back, and she's standing there. So I put one of the fortunes in that apple that you don't look good in a yellow hat. And this lady I did not like, who was just mean as hell, showed up, and she had this big yellow hat on. It was like, because it was a costume party, it was like a turban with like some fruit on it, but it was just yellow. And everyone all night was calling her Big Bird behind her back. And because it was a whole ensemble of bright, garish yellow. And she picked the fortune and opened it, and it said, "You don't look good in the yellow hat." Oh my god, she was so mad. She thought I did it all. I mean, I put that on purpose, but there was no way I could know she was going to show up in that outfit. So, like I said, sometimes the universe, God, fates whatever you prescribe to. And the powers that be understand that sometimes a horrible person needs to be called out on their horribleness in subtle, funny, sassy ways. So, I don't know. Well, I mean, there's so many places they could go with though. With the "Who's the Beef" shirt. I mean, think about it. Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes you just have to mess with systems of boringness. I'm gonna put some stars in because why not? It's supposed to be space and shit. Give the old wizard some stars in his space and junk. That was another movie I liked that I feel like people have forgotten. Heartbreakers with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sigourney Weaver. And like the guy that she's into, like they're out on the beach and they're looking through the telescope and she's like, "Oh, that's cool. It's like space and stuff." For a really long time, I would quote that. And then there's, of course, Sigourney Weaver's pretending to be a Russian woman to trick this rich old man into marrying her. And then she gets taken to a Russian restaurant and she ends up on stage. Because they're like, "Oh, let's have you sing this famous Russian folk song." And she, of course, doesn't know it because she just got a bad accent. And then she gets them to, she does Back in the USSR in a bad Russian accent. Classic. But, so, yeah, so today your homework movies are Kids in the Hall, Brain Candy, and Heartbreakers, starring Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt. Alright, so I need to give him a planet or a sun or something. And for that, I'm gonna break out my big fancy pencil case. This is my gift for surviving. I bought it before I moved, but it was literally, I bought this to make the move easier and to say, "Girl, you survived." Even though I had not yet survived. It was just a hope I had that I would survive, and I have, so. I'm gonna go in with Canary Yellow. And this is just loose, I'm not gonna, it's gonna be some sort of a planet, but I want this yellow sort of as the base. And I'm not gonna necessarily try to go, I don't have a reference picture of Alec Guinness. I'm not gonna try to go for realism. When I did the Luke, I did sort of correct colors, but I'm going to sort of go for some moody lighting on the face. So, and this is such stylized art, it would be silly to trying to make it realistic would look weird. It would look like they'd make them probably look like that Hobbit cartoon from the 70s. The one before the Rankin Bass one, I think it was Rankin Bass, right? Somebody in the comments will know better than I. This is why I should have Kayla on speed dial. Kayla would know. Alright. There we go. And I'm going to go in now with, let's see, yellowed orange, which is close to Spanish orange, but not quite. Or is it Spanish yellow? Either way, it's something Spanish and it's similar in color. But I'm just going to lightly go in over here. And I am setting sort of the yellows I'm using here aside so that I can use that when it's time to start shading like him and his face and everything. This for me is part of the process that I like, when I just kind of make up stuff. So. And that's why this particular Star Wars book appealed to me, because the whole thing is basically blank backgrounds and just the figures, so I can kind of just go for it. I mean, a few of them have a little, like sand or whatever, a little bit extra to sort of pose. Most of them are just sort of shots like this so that I can, also quicker to do this because, I'm not having to be detailed with the background. So. I think I'm going to leave the top here not colored in, sort of. I'm going to go in like with a white pencil, sort of blend it out, but I'm not going to actually have that sort of all light and bright up there. So let's go in. Like there's a big floating orange peach thing behind him. This is kind of similar to how I would color a peach. And so. Or a nectarine. Nectarine is the fuzzy one. I wonder if I can grow nectarines in my back. I should look and see if nectarine seeds would grow here. We have enough of a yard that I want to start planting like tomatoes and old people stuff. Every old person I knew growing up had like tomatoes, basil, and like some sort of weird fruit that never really grew so that they could eat it. But we already have an apple tree, so even if I plant nectarines or whatever and they don't properly grow, the apple tree gives us plenty of apple. Which means if I can figure out how to, that next year some of you guys will be getting jars of apple butter and apple preserves, and then some of you will just get a card that says, "Hi, happy holidays. I was too cheap to go to the post office to mail you cool stuff. But here's a card." I used to do that all the time to my parents. I would buy them all this cool stuff and then not get to the post office, so I would just send a card. And then when I go home to visit, I would have like extra bags full of stuff, which helped because then I could go to where I had all of my stuff stored in Texas at the time and just load up those empty suitcases with stuff I wanted to take back. All right, there we go. That's a pretty good sun. Oh, turn that. Yeah, I totally need some mail. The cats actually got, oh, wait, I missed people. Hello, collecting brothers. I'm going to assume it's, wait, is it Jean or Jean? Either way, I'm going to assume it's you. Also, yes. Oh yeah, they need to lighten up. They're kind of boring. We do not have a basement, so sadly, Right. Exactly. Alright, it's time to do the lightsaber. As my grandma used to say, lightsaber. She also used to call it the Star Wars, which George Lucas would have loved, because that was the original title. She always said it though, like it was in a Playboy Channel content or something. The Star Wars. She did not care for it though. Like all the aliens and stuff, I think, are a little much for her. I mean, she grew up in a time where like the Wizard of Oz was considered. She also didn't like any Star Trek. Whenever I would watch reruns of that or the cartoon, she would always be annoyed. So, I mean, my grandfather did work in the space program, so maybe it brought back memories or something for her. So, I remember, because they had to move around the country a lot in the early days before NASA was, because NASA started out as part of sort of army scientists, and then it spun off into its own thing. But he would complain about certain types from Germany who worked on that program, and my grandfather grew up on a reservation, so he was not particularly fond of his sort of scientist from Germany. He did not trust them, and who would? So I definitely get where he was coming from, and appreciate it. So, the neighbor's grapevine that grows in our yard has those bitter, horrible grapes that are only good for making wine with. And he has very kindly said that if any of his grapes fall into our yard, we can keep them. So in the spirit of welcome to the neighborhood and being a good neighbor, I'm going to take him up on that, and anything that falls into the yard, we're going to keep. I do have my grandmother. My grandmother had that type of grape in her backyard. The Star Wars anti-space one. And she used to make a really good jelly with it from those grapes. And of course, my uncle would take them to make wine. But I have her jelly recipe. And it's basically you just take all those grapes and half a thing of sugar and then just boil and strain until you've got this really pretty red jelly. And then of course you have to so they're over here. It's like, where are my pencil extenders? And then I remembered they're over here now. I'll get it eventually. And then it'll be time to move it all out into the studio. Oh, the broken lead. Alright, let's try that again. It is common for me, though. I get a lot of broken leads once the pencils get smaller, because you have to kind of sharpen them with a little bit more force, and that tends to break the leads. So it's almost time to retire this one. I need to start making videos when I retire pencils when they're too small, and then drop those as short set to Sarah McLachlan, I Will Remember You, or The Arms of an Angel, so that people can think of all those sad puppy eyes from those commercials. think it's funny. She did Lilith Fair. She had a really great career, and most people now remember Sarah McLachlan from the sad puppy and animal video commercial thing. And his light's obviously blue lightsaber, even though Kenner gave the large size Obi-Wan a yellow lightsaber. But they gave the large size Luke a blue saber, but then they gave the minifigure Luke a yellow saber. I think that was just a mistake based on the materials they had, because they were making those without access to the full film. And the Hildebrandt art, where Luke has a lightsaber, it's yellow looking. And a lot of the early pictures, before they were all fixed, that Kenner would have gotten, the sabers didn't necessarily have color to them. Some of the ones they got were just sort of like the metal pole that they used as a stand-in for the first movie, and then they went in and like colored it on the frame itself. So when people ask why, it's literally, I would assume that it's because based on materials available at the time, they thought he had a yellow lightsaber. Doesn't explain why they gave one to Ben Kenobi for the large size figure, but it at least explains the little figures. So, and of course that's not based on me reading that, that's me putting 2 and 2 together based on the story of Kenner Star Wars figures and the timelines they give and the materials that you can access and look at. Probably do a video on that sometime. If I ever finish my Hildebrandt video and publish that, maybe I could probably slide that in. There we go. Then I'm a blue lightsaber. And then to make it more sciencey, I'm going to use a white paint pen and remove some of the lines. That'll help. If I cover these up, it'll help it look a little bit more like an actual lightsaber that's glowing. All these things you can't see me do in a time lapse. It goes so fast. But yeah, this is how I do lightsaber effects. Yeah, slap that like. I might ping you for the recipe for that. Are you on like Instagram or anything like that? If so, you should reach out. Thank you. Yeah, if you're on Instagram or something, make sure you're following me so that way in like 6 to 8 months when our apples start showing up and I'm like, oh my god, we have like 1,000 apples. Apple wine might be cool. I can hit you up and be like, hey, remember that time we were talking in chat about apple wine? That would be really cool. I'll even break out my vocal fry for it. I had no idea if that's what it was until some dude tried to insult me, like, oh my god, you're vocal fry. And I was just like, okay. At least I don't sound like a washed up surfer from California, Douglas. And then I'm going to just do the outside with, it's a darker blue, but I think that'll be nice. And it'll help, especially with the black thing through here, it'll help sort of make it look glowy. This is the part when I'm filming where I sort of stop and stand up and look through the camera to see what's happening. But I don't have to for life because I can just look over to my side and see what's on the screen. 10-second delay, of course, but still. I don't know if it's 10 seconds anymore. It might be less, but it sometimes feels like 10 seconds. Alright, there we go. Almost done. I am glad I did this, you guys. I was, when I realized that I needed to structure my day today, I was almost going to just cancel this. But I'm glad I didn't. This is good for me to sort of sit here and talk at you, but to myself. I understand now why Lawrence spends 3 hours yelling at his computer screen. Excellent. Wow. Apple wine, it is time. Alright. So now it's just, we've got old Ben. I'm gonna start, let's see. I'm gonna start with his inner robes, which are usually like a creamy taupe color. And I'm gonna start just with Prismacolor cream. And I'm gonna add some colors into it. I'm going to see if I can get sort of the shadows and the shades the way I want them. But because I've got this sort of orange back here, I want to kind of, everything on this side, I want to kind of have the sort of a reflection of that. And everything on this side, I want to kind of have a blue reflection. So we'll see if I can accomplish that. And we're at 48 minutes of streaming so far, so I definitely should be able to finish Ben today. May not be able to finish or get to the Jawa today, but that's okay. I just always have a backup because the first streaming I did with one of these, I finished really quick, so it was helpful to have the second backup. But if not, the Jawa can wait for next time. And I will be putting up a poll on my community page over the next few days for December live streams, because I'm going to do some Fridays. And there will be another Friday where I do something from the Star Wars book. So I'm going to put up a poll and encourage you guys to go vote for whatever page you would like me, and I'll put samples of the pages up so you can look at what they are. And I'm also going to try to do polls for my Friday streams. I'm almost done with that Masters of the Universe 1984 book. So once that's done, I'll have the second Friday that I stream each month. I don't necessarily have a book for yet, so I'm going to do a couple polls and let you guys vote on sort of what the other one will be. And then I should finish the pages from the Star Wars book in time for May, which, apropos. And then after that, I'll probably have you guys vote again on the second Friday live stream, what I should work on. So, because as content as I am to just keep doing Masters of the Universe and Star Wars and stuff, you know, people might want to see. And I have such a big collection of books, it would be silly to not throw some stuff out there. Do some visionaries, because people love visionaries. I say that, but that Sunday episode, Andrew from Gady's Toys and I did of visionaries. That was really good. Like people actually, I'm going to assume people who are looking at visionaries actually are watching it. And to them, I'm kind of apologetic because we don't actually talk as much about the toy line as we could, but hopefully they find Andrew's video for that and go watch and find out more about visionaries. Or Derek Hoover's yesterday podcast about visionaries. I'm gonna use some eggshell for sort of the base coat of his hands and face. And normally I would do like a really solid base coat with this for Caucasian people. But because I'm going to go in with some and try to do some moody stuff with colors and not necessarily do a full-on attempt at realism, I'm not going to worry too much about having perfect coverage because then that will enable me to add more layers of different colors. Prismacolor is pretty good about giving you lots of, you can add a lot of layer if you have the right paper. Alright, I'm going to start building the robe coloring out. I'm going to start with the sienna brown. And probably just use sienna for all of it because one of the nice things about some of the darker colors of Prisma is you can get a pretty nice texture made. Some of it, of course, as you've heard me say before, is some of it is the paper I use. But also some of it is just depending on how much pressure. So I can usually get some nice textures and some nice light effects just by the pressure I put on the pencil. So I think I'm going to do that with the robe. And that'll leave enough light that I can add sort of the yellows and stuff in. Okay, I'm not going to add a bunch of different shades of brown to the robe. Just so I can do some other stuff. And if you hear sort of a banging in the background, that's the cats trying to figure out why the door is closed. And I will open the door when we're done here. And there will be 2 cats right at the door glaring at me, and there will be a third one down the hallway staring at me like, you left me alone with those kittens. And so they're not used to there being so many doors, because our apartment only had like a bathroom. There's a door to the front door, obviously, to go in and out, and a glass door to the patio. But otherwise, there's just, you know, like the laundry room, the bedroom, and the bathroom. And the bathroom was the only one we actually ever closed. So they're quite, anytime I close the office door so I can make work calls or whatever, or so I can stream without them crashing through the room, they get really weirded out, which is fun to watch. It's fun to see them sort of get relaxed and figure out what the new place is going to be like. Because it's much bigger, so they have so much space. Alright, it's a pretty good start. Oh, let's see. Oh, I've missed it. Okay. Okay, there we go. 5. Okay, yeah. Nice. Nice. Yeah, oh, that's right. Thank you. I watched that. I saw that ahead of time and sent it to me to say thanks for helping him locate you for that video. So I was like, duh. It's such a cool toy line. I think, yeah, exactly. Like, I think, oh wow, I missed a lot. And that's cool. You guys are chatting. Yeah, it would be nice. I think, and I think we even talked about it when we hung out that time and talked to Visionaries. But for me, Visionaries was one of those. I mean, I was getting to that age where I was aging out of toys altogether, and music and boys were what it was all about. You know, like 12, 13, I guess. I think that was Visionaries was what, 87? Yeah, so it was like 12 or 13, somewhere in there. And yeah, 87 was the year that for Christmas I got a Bananarama CD, Cyndi Lauper True Colors on CD. I already had the cassette. I got the CD. I got Madonna True Blue on CD. And a bunch of 45s, because I would get 45s because sometimes they would have B-sides. And Lisa and the Cult Jam with All Cried Out and I Wonder If I Take You On. That was the best CD of that Christmas. Love me some Lisa. And then I took it, it was Christmas when I got it, and we were at my grandparents'. And you find out really quick who of your grandparents are the most racist when you pop in a Lisa tape into your boombox and start dancing in the middle of the neighborhood backyard barbecue. And it's not always the ones you expect. But, excuse me. Little weird sneeze there. But yeah, you find out really unexpectedly. So, you know, luckily my mom was like, turn it up. And we got up and danced with me, even though I know she did not like Lisa. But that's how you know you have a mom doing her best. You know, my mom was not perfect, but she did her best because she did get up and dance and tell me to crank it up. And of all her faults, being sarcastic and defiant toward old racist ass hats was not one of her problems. So, that was fun. Oh my god, that man. But he's dead now, so it all works out. And when he died, all of his kids had gone no contact for years. So, at the end, everything works out. And based on his beliefs, I'm going to assume he's somewhere warm and toasty now. And we love that for him. Like, he got what he wanted. There we go. We've got almost a whole side of his root done. Yeah, right? Oh yeah, we were talking Visionaries, 1987. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Story about Lisa and racism. Yeah, they were cool. What I remember was picking up my brother's, like, because he had 3 or 4 of them. But I remember picking them up and being like, these aren't the same scale as G.I. Joe. And they didn't fit in with any of his other stuff that he had. And I think, as weird as it may seem, I think that I don't think it would have been a big deal if Visionaries had hit, say, in 1981, 82. I think at that point, a lot of kids were still really mixing and matching toy lines. And sort of scale wasn't as big of a deal. But I think by 1987, scale hurt. I think it mattered that, like, they weren't, the same thing. Like, you couldn't mix and match them with G.I. Joe or with He-Man or with Superpowers or any of the other toy. And it's like, at least they should have mixed and matched with, like, been in the same scale as G.I. Joe. It was Hasbro. Like, it was like, as a kid, it always annoyed me that LJN made Thundercats toys bigger than Masters of the Universe, because, not gonna lie, they probably would have sold a lot more Thundercats toys. I mean, they sold a lot, don't get me wrong. It's not like they were hurting, but it just seems like it would have lasted a lot longer, and they would have been able to go a lot farther with it if it had scaled with Motu. I mean, obviously, because you have all these different, attempts at scaling them in the modern age with Motu, so. It always annoyed me too as a kid. I didn't have any of the. No, I take that. I had King and I had Professor Zemo from Marvel Secret Wars, but it always annoyed me that those were just a little bit shorter and a little bit more scrawny than the Superpowers. I did have those too, though. I'm not sure. I know I got Zemo because he was fancy. And he had puffy sleeves and fur and yeah. So I did use him. He was like a Wonder Woman. I used him as a Wonder Woman villain for Superpowers. Him and the Baroness from G.I. Joe. She had just stolen some of Ray Palmer's White Dwarf material, and then because Wonder Woman has a villain, the Baroness Paula Van Gunter. So I just used the Baroness as that, who had accidentally shrank herself and got stuck after stealing Ray Palmer's White Dwarf material. So there you go. That was how I fixed the lack of Cheetah or Giganta or any lady in the vintage Superpowers line as a kid. The Baroness and Baron Zemo. So had no clue who those characters were, who Baron Zemo was. And so yeah, Secret Wars was just too small. I'm looking at the combo on my phone instead of on the screen, so yeah, I mean, and that, in general, like, my brother had all of the other Marvel Secret Wars figures, though. I also remember they were very cheap. I mean, I know this sounds rude, but they were very cheap. I remember the paint coming off of his Iron Man really easy. The Dr. Octopus, all the arms broke off. His first, you know, the red and blue Spider-Man, all of the paint out came off, so it was just, they weren't very well made, which, I mean, obviously it was sort of, Mattel did with Secret Wars was like a flanker brand for Mattel. It was one of them trying to compete with Kenner's superpowers, but also so that they could sell Secret Wars alongside Masters of the Universe and sort of take up a big chunk of real estate in the toy aisle. Yeah, similar to like She-Ra. Like She-Ra was to help them, you know, like take up another aisle, you know, another section in their pink aisle, but also to prevent the boys, you know, like, because originally She-Ra started as, you know, in the boys department they were going to do like female action figures. And if you haven't seen the Battle Ram vlog She-Ra video, you should, because it clarifies a lot. So it wasn't necessarily even that She-Ra was just going to be, you know, like another character in Masters of the Universe. They really were looking at creating an entire girls action figure line, sort of like what Golden Girl was. And then the girls department sort of took it over so that they weren't basically competing in-house. And I'm glad they did, because, not gonna lie, I as a kid really enjoyed, and still do to this day, the aesthetic of the She-Ra line. I like the sparkliness, I like the glitter, I liked the paints. Which, since we're talking She-Ra, because this is right behind me, so this is a vintage catcher that I got on eBay. Like this, mint complete. So anyway, there's my catcher. The mask technically did not come on when they shipped those, but when I bought her, she came with it like that. Whoever had her had cut the bubble out and had stored her in the bubble for years, so it was cool getting the bubble. I mean, she's in best shape. I got that like 10 years ago. Really good price. It was. I'm gonna assume that. I mean, at the time you could still get vintage Princess of Power. I got a complete bow, including his headband. Like, I want to say like $25 with shipping. And I remember thinking, wow, that's so much. And now if you go try to find a vintage bow mint complete loose, you're going to spend quite a bit. So I got a lot of really good scores at that point when I was rebuilding. Because all of my childhood ones were so played with that they're pretty, you know, battered and falling apart, and stickers were peeling off their belts, and all their skirts were frayed. My Mermista is all turning colors, and her tail is messed up because I put her in the water all the time. So, I mean, they gave us Crystal Falls. What was I supposed to do? That was like one of my Christmas gifts, 1986. Crystal Falls. So I got Crystal Falls, and then my brother and I had to share Eternia. It's a good Christmas. That was my last real Christmas of getting toys as well. And there are a few things in '87, but again, mostly records and CDs. Alright. Oh wait, his belt is brown. Or is it black? I'm gonna just make it brown. Give him a brown belt, and then we'll do a silver buckle. We need to make that brown too. There we go. Yeah, Secret Wars just have the worst paint apps. And yeah, and that's, you know, like, I know we're gonna get the cartoon collection. I know there are a lot of people that that's sort of the preference is, you know, cartoon looks for the girls, so that they're not playing with dolls. But I really need Mattel to step it up and give us some toy versions of these Princess of Power characters. Forgot his hood. But yeah, like, I'm hoping for that. I was watching a video the other day where somebody was talking about how the Lucasfilm license is coming up and that Hasbro may not get it. And I found myself thinking, like, I might not hate that if, you know, the like new company who gets it sort of gives us new versions of character. I mean, like, I definitely, technically, I do not need another, you know, like Farm Boy Luke in that scale, but at the same time, it would be really cool to, I don't know, just get some different stuff. It feels like, to me, I mean, I like the vintage collection for what it is, but it feels like most of the Hasbro offerings outside of vintage collections are just sort of, I don't know, they're just missing the mark for me. I mean, vintage collection is always going to be what that is, and I dig that. It would be sad to me if Hasbro loses the license to lose the vintage collection. It would also be kind of cool to get, I don't know, just sort of a new take. It feels very same old a lot of time. Even, you know, Black Series especially, it's also boring. We're not getting, and again, it could just be that that's coming from Lucasfilm. It's not who's ever in charge of the Black Series, but it seems weird to me that we're just now seeing in Black Series like Hammerhead, and we're, you know, like, just, you know, I don't know, Black Series from day one. I remember the first waves came out and there's no Leia, and I'm just like, well, why am I going to bother with this line? And I think overall that's just kind of my vibe with the, you know, they've corrected it. We've gotten just about every Leia in that scale now, but it just feels like it took way too long for them to give us Farm Boy Luke even. Like, they launched with X-Wing Luke, and I don't know, it just from day one, the Black Series has always been to me like a kind of poorly considered toy line. I know there are people who love it, but I'm kind of also realizing I'm to a point where I'm tired of the hyper realness of toy lines. I don't need the sculpt to look just like the person. I miss when it was more toyetic, where it's like, you know, like, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but for me, like, Power of the Force 2 era likenesses were about as real as I needed it to get. Like, it sometimes weirds me out when I look at a Black Series figure where they've, you know, the face paint is so good it looks just like the actor or actress, unless it's Mark Hamill or Carrie Fisher. Good luck there. But I don't know, it's just like Hot Toys and all of, I get why people like them, but it's just weird to me that people need it to look just like the actual actor. Yeah, and I was sort of in that camp for a while, but more and more lately, I'm just like, it's okay if it's toyetic. It's fine if it's not an exact replica of that actor's face. I think it's for me some of why toys stopped being fun for a really long time, and I just couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I'm definitely having more fun now because my focus is really the only things I'm all in on right now are Origins from Motu and, believe it or not, the loyal subjects, Strawberry Shortcake and Rainbow Bright. They're just hitting that sort of that sweet spot for me right now. Really excited. I mean, we did a retro cavalcade about it, but I'm really excited to see their gem and their mask line. Depending on what mask is, I might actually buy mask toys. So we'll see. Like, I don't know. I find a lot of toy lines right now kind of sadly boring. And it could just be that it's this perpetual cycle of nostalgia we're in. And again, I mean, look at what I do on YouTube. It seems ironic. But at the same time, like, no. Alright. I think this robe looks pretty good. Here we are. Got some color to it. Oh, let's take a look. Hello, Rolanda. Lovely to see you. There we go. And then Todd C. Happy Black Friday to you. Have you found any deals yet, Todd? I've not done any shopping actually. I did some shopping earlier in the week, but haven't actually shopped any today. I slept in, woke up, made some coffee, and started getting ready to jump on here to hang out for a little bit. I'm going in with the salmon pink to start putting some color into this pasty old man's face. It's super peach. It's not something I would normally... I use this whenever I want someone to look like they have a spray tan. But because I'm going to go in with sort of the yellows and the blues, I want something a little darker than my normal skin tones. And thank you for reminding me that it was Friday. I kind of almost forgot that it was Friday today. And it's that weird holiday, nebulous. Time is weird and broken. The belt is annoying me, so I'm gonna grab the belt right now. And I should probably put some gray in his beard. A little bit for his eyebrow. Right now it's just sort of adding some mood coloring. I've got the light cerulean blue, which is what I use for the darker blue, and the saber. Start lightly. Start putting some blue into his hand. Since that's where most of that should go. Just out a little bit to the front here. I know, right? I missed that. Yeah, it's been a really long time since we've had a video of somebody crying that a grown-ass adult ripped a toy out of their child's hands. I am old enough that I remember watching the Cabbage Patch Kid riots on TV, and maybe I'm just wired wrong, but I did not want Cabbage Patch Kids. I was not at all disappointed. My mom wanted Cabbage Patch Kids. I did not. I was like, what, 83? That was the year I was wanting Care Bears and the Very Happy Home. So, I don't know. Cabbage Patch Kids just, they weird. Like, they look really weird. Like, if anyone's watching this and you look like a Cabbage Patch Kid, my apologies for being insulting that way, but those things are weird and kind of creepy. So, they definitely look like the kind of dolls that come alive in the middle of the night and suffocate you with a pillow. I'm just gonna leave that right there and you do with that as you will. When my mom finally got hers, she did not take it out of the box because, you know, that's how you knew she was just a grown-ass adult buying toys to look pretty on the knick-knack shelf. But I was really glad when she didn't take it out, because I figured as long as it was in the box, it couldn't sneak into my room at night and murder me. So. And then there was a cartoon about them where it was like all about like child labor, where there's that evil lady kidnapping the Cabbage Patch Kids and forcing them to work like in a diamond mine or something. It was like the Elon Musk story. I'm going now with the yellow. Just sort of shade everything over here. There we go. Oh yeah, they were not. Yeah, they had those really soft bodies and their heads were like, my friend had one and I don't know. She was just, it was not cool. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's how you know, that's in the 80s how you knew if your mom loved you. But she'd punch a 5-year-old and the 5-year-old's mom to get a Cabbage Patch Kid. And if she didn't, your mom did not love you enough. Alright, 3 is done. And it is 1:24. Well, an hour and 24 minutes. So, I'm going to go in this alcohol marker. And very badly, I'm just going to sort of color this in. Our real estate agent, as a housewarming gift, got me this really not bad at all set of alcohol markers. It's like pretty decent little set, which is cool because I barely even talked about my YouTube stuff. So during the whole process, so she paid enough attention to get that. So if you are looking to move to a small town in Oregon near the coast, ping me if you need a real estate agent, and I will hook you guys up. I mean, because she didn't even have to do a housewarming gift, but the fact that she had paid enough attention got me a cool little set and showed up after she got all of her money. The point where you don't have to talk to the people anymore if you don't want to. So, definitely good customer service there. Excellent, all done. All right, and just leave that there for a second. All right. My hands are acting up a little. We're still gonna go, but I am having a little bit of hand pain. So yeah. So we are gonna break the tape a little bit more differently than we would normally. Here we go. Sorry about that. It is one of the reasons I often go a little bit later on Fridays, is I have time to. If I do my hand exercises, my hand is usually okay. Anyway. Alright, so I'm not gonna finish it today, but I'm gonna start the little Jawa. Might as well go for another one. Since we're here and we have the time, a little. I get the fun part started, and then whatever's left, I'll just, when I do my next Star Wars stream, we will start with this, whatever's left for this guy. Alright, get him bolted down. Oh, and he's a little crooked. Technically he's even, it's just my camera's crooked, but for 30 minutes I think he'll be fine. If any of you are upset, make sure to leave a comment that the picture was crooked to help with engagement. Alright, so he is in, obviously there's a little bit of background, desert of Tatooine. So instead of space, I'm going to just go with some blue. I'll go with this lighter blue first. And just have some fun with it. I don't think I've colored Jawas before. Well, I mean, probably as a kid, but I think since I've started doing pages for, no, that's not true. There were Jawas in one of the Return of the Jedi shorts I did, so never mind. I was about to lie. Yeah, there were like 3 of them actually. Go figure. Two back here too. That'll work. All right, there we go. That was some of the blue. I am going to go in. This is light blue. I'm going to use this just to go in right in here. And it should help whenever I start splashing the water in. Sort of give it some variance. And I'm also going to add a little bit of the white to it so that there will be some spots where it comes out a lot lighter. And sky in Tatooine obviously is an Earth sky, but it's because it's over a desert. It's pretty washed out mostly. So we're not going to quite get that. Just because the darker blue is really dark. But a little bit of the lighter blue, and then when I add the white, it'll help. And let's put some white in here. Just gonna randomly smear it all around. And a little bit more down in here. And some. And that's that. Alright, water time. Hello, Alex. Welcome. Thank you for popping in. Right. Just use a lot of water and just gonna smear it all around. As you can see with this white, it gets kind of milky and a lot more almost acrylic-esque-ish. I don't know. That's helping sort of blend those two blues and get, in my opinion, it's a pretty nice color. Your mileage will vary. Yeah. Need to play around with these, but I want to try to figure out how to make like a tie-dye effect with them. Not that that necessarily would work for Star Wars per se, but just because it would be really cool to be able to do that. And I have I bought from Retro Reprints a couple Barbie coloring books, and there's one from like 1971 where it would be fun to throw in some tie-dye effects on like there are midges in it, and like one of Midge's shirt, her like shirt dress, it's like a long t-shirt thing, would look really cool, I think, if I were to do it tie-dye. So, but I have to play around. I have ideas on how to do it with color pencils, but I think just because of the way tie-dye works, that figuring out how to use these neo colors to do that would be much cooler. So. There we go. I don't know if you can hear voices in the background, but it sounds like it sounds like Matt's yelling out one of the utility companies, so my apologies, but all right, here we go. All right. Oh my goodness. Right. Yeah, that was a choice. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I was just like, oh, that's a lot. I mean, the choice there was that Padme didn't get back on her ship and leave right then. But at the same time, we can't expect any of the writing in episode 2 or 3 to be favorable to Padme because, yeah. And George Lucas introduced a pretty decent character in episode 1. Like, Padme had all that it should have taken to be like completely kick ass, and then they just had her completely make really terrible decisions. Like, yeah, sorry about your mom, dude. I'm gonna go. And then yet secretly marry him after that. Like, I mean, like, I've been there. Like, that's kind of the story of my 20s, but at the same time, I was not elected queen of my people at like 14. So, yeah, I don't know. It just, the fact that when he came back and said he had killed all the sand people, and she was like, oh, okay, let's get married secretly because we survived the arena together, and despite the horrible wound this cat got me, all it really did was reveal my midriff because I'm no longer under 18. That was annoying. I'm not gonna lie. The fact that George Lucas again, and the lady gets in less clothes. At least in Raiders of the Lost Ark, when like Indy rips the bottom half of Marian's dress off, it makes sense so that they can use it to like start fire and stuff. But for the most part, I mean, the gold bikini in Return of the Jedi is still stupid. I mean, even as a kid, I thought that was stupid. I know people like it, and they want to ride or die for calling it something that it was only called by adult collectors in later years. Padme in the midriff, not so much, thanks. I hate it. And what's funny is the lack of chemistry between Anakin and Padme, and Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen were actually dating at that point. I mean, obviously it didn't last forever, but it kind of makes, I don't know, it's weird. I mean, like with Harrison, part of the Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher behind the scenes stuff, I'm going to assume is partly why Han and Leia as a couple made way more sense than Luke and Leia. Even before the 11th hour rewrite of the Jedi script, where they decided, we'll make them brother and sister, so we didn't have to introduce Luke's sister. Because originally there was a whole another character who was off training with another Jedi that was going to show up for the back half of the movie and help Luke defeat the Emperor and save Vader. And then they were like, instead of that, we'll just resolve this love triangle in the worst way possible by making them siblings. Anyway, remind me of how like only the original trilogy was great. Now they had it all figured out from day one. Which is, of course, what you always hear about sort of like the sequels. They didn't know what they were doing. It's like Lucas did not know what he was doing either. We just were able to overlook that collectively because we were kids. And the Ewoks were fun. And speaking of things my mom loved, my mother loved Ewoks. Loved them. She had an Ewok. I did not have a stuffed Ewok. My mother had a my brother didn't even have a stuffed Ewok, but my mom did. So, and she did, like, I saw Star Wars many times, but a lot of it was she would send me with my aunts and uncles. Every time we went and saw Jedi, pretty much she took us because she had to see those Ewoks again. So, I don't know if Ewoks were so much made for kids, so much as made for kids' moms and for the merchandising. Look how cute these little murder bears are. Alright, there's all the sand. Finish. Get a little bit more under his feet. Normally I would put like some more brown and stuff in there, but I'm gonna kind of go bigger and brighter on this. And I might normally. And to that end, instead of doing like sort of a metallic for the components, I'm going to actually go for a blue. Go for sort of this brighter blue. And it's going to blend in a little bit with sort of the background, but look at it and stylize it a little bit. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a detonator or some sort of like drone droid, but I'm gonna pretend it's some sort of droid and I'm gonna make these eyes. Just for the fun of it. Alright, there we go. And let's see. Alright. And then I'm gonna do the eyes in hot pink. Make his little pupil, irises, pupils, whatever. The yellow. If the yellow will work. And just to add a little bit of danger, put some red. There we go. Just use the pink then. Yellow, orange. There we go. That should help make it look a little bit like it's glowing. Normally for the hands, I would go for a really dark brown, but I want to be a little bit more cartoony with this. So I'm going to do like a black cherry. Yeah, I think around I think a lot of the prequel trilogy really sort of helped push the idea of adult collectors. Like, it kind of started with Power of the Force 2. There are a lot of people who started collecting Star Wars toys that were adults, but maybe wouldn't have, you know, like, that's when I remember seeing other, you know, because I didn't collect a lot of toys before Power of the Force, but I, you know, selectively would collect, like, DC stuff. And it was really around when Power of the Force started hitting, like, that's when all of a sudden I started seeing more sort of teenage and adult collectors in that toy aisle. And the same with Toys R Us. And I remember at the time I was living in Louisiana in a town called Lake Charles, and I would run into sort of the same 5, 6 other adults at all the toy stores where we were all doing our hunts. And then the further Power of the Force 2 went, and the bigger it got, and then when the special editions hit, there started being way more adults in the toy aisle. And I'd moved to Austin, and by the time the prequels came out, you know, so in Austin, of course, it was, there were way more adult toy collectors. It's college town, a little bit more, you know, it's like an urban area or whatever. So way more sort of, much bigger nerd culture. So there were a lot more adults at Toys R Us and the Walmart toy department. So yeah, I just remember sort of it no longer being as weird, and the prequels blew up. And I was visiting people in Lake Charles when the Midnight Madness stuff was for prequels, and I went to sort of the same sort of Toys R Us that I had shopped at it was way more obviously at midnight you're going to see more adults, but it was way more adults who were actually there buying it for themselves. And some of that, of course, is there was this huge speculation about how all this Star Wars stuff is going to cost hundreds of, like be worth lots and lots of money. So there were definitely people, the same people who sort of rushed out and bought all of the comic books, during the foil cover craze, like 17 variant covers. You want them all, you can put your kids through college. There's definitely a lot of that sort of happening around episode 1. So I think that was part of why there were way more adults buying. But I think there were a lot of people who were buying it, for that reason, but it was really just that they wanted the toys, and that gave them a reason to say that, well, I'm only buying it because. So it gave people like an out. So, and I think it just slowly, over the pandemic, it finally just hit this point where people didn't really care anymore why you were buying toys. Like, does it make you happy? Is it bringing you joy? Great, buy it. So, it seems way less shamey toward adult toy collectors post-pandemic. I mean, it's probably gonna, and I think some of the reason, like, say, the Black series has become as detailed and as, realistic as it is partly that. It's that whole, like, it's a lot easier to sort of say, oh, I'm an adult toy collector. These aren't really, like, look how great this looks. And I think it helps decrease the shame some people have over collecting toys, and helps with sort of, like, the plausible deniability of, you're doing this thing technically that's supposed to be for kids, which all of it to me is just ridiculous. Like, if you like something, just do it. Like, life is way too short to worry about stuff like that. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Got about 7 minutes. This one's going actually a lot faster. Use this. It's a mahogany red. I'm not sure how much I'll get to. I mean, I can't imagine I'll finish this in 7 minutes. But if anyone wants to hang out just a few extra, I might stay until this one's done. Because at this point, it's really close. I mean, obviously not being quite as detailed as I might normally, but at the same time. That is sort of the advantage of doing this in a slightly more cartoony style. It doesn't have to have as much depth. Oh yeah, and this mahogany red I'm liking. It's very brownish. Not quite the sort of orange shade that I would associate with the vintage Jawa under his little, well, or the original one when he still had a vinyl cape. But it's funny, as a kid, like, I had the vinyl cape Jawa was one of my first Star Wars figures. And I lost the vinyl cape, like, first week. And then the second one came out with the little cloth cape, but my mom actually bought a couple of, she normally would not army build, but she bought a couple of them in the cloth cape because she was convinced the cloth cape would be worth more. Way to go, Mom. But also because they were cute, so She liked all the shorties, like Snaggletooth. We had a bunch of the red one, because we didn't have, she didn't order that from Sears, so we had no. I had no idea there was a blue Snaggletooth until I got Steven Sansweet's book in the like 93, 90, maybe 94. Maybe even as late as I may have got it after Power of the Force started coming out. But I had no idea that there was a blue Snaggletooth until then. But she bought a lot of Snaggletooth because she liked the little short characters. She thought they were cute. And she always pushed the Strawberry Shortcake miniature line at me. And that was partly, I think, as the miniature she thought were cute. But also they were only $2 compared to like $6 to $7 for a whole ass Strawberry Shortcake doll back in the day. So I'm thinking based on how poor we were at that time, it was both, oh, they're cute, and also you can get all the characters for, you get like three to four miniatures for the price of one large doll. So it's definitely way more all in for the miniatures, which I have been rebuilding that collect. Now that I have all my stuff, I know what I'm missing. So I picked up a Sour Grapes miniature a week or two ago, and it was part of a twofer, so I got both miniature Sour Grapes. So now I just have to get the display area so I can set up all my minis. And then I'm going to start in January, because, I like to plan out my collecting. But starting in January, I'm going to start picking up. I'm basically going to budget per month like $50 to $60 for Strawberry Land miniatures so I can finish that collection. And that way when I get to the later ones in the line that are more expensive, I can just sort of roll all that money over so that I stay in budget. It's going to mean giving up some other stuff that I've been collecting, but I think I'm okay. I want to finish up a bunch of my old collections. I mean, I've been collecting all this stuff since, Strawberry Shortcake since 1980, and it would be nice to actually complete that collection before I kill over from old age. Oh, yeah, I think I'm pretty close to finishing this, so if you want to say anything out, I'm going to stay until this is done. The thing I have at 2 o'clock, I'm going to assume this will be okay if I'm a few minutes late because I wrapped this up. I needed the bathroom and a beverage refill before we meet to work on our forthcoming collaboration. So I kind of want to finish this now. And again, I'm glad I decided to just hop on and do this instead of rearranging all of my days so I can get all the stuff in. Well, I mean, I kind of did, but I was just going to cancel this and then make everything else happen if it needed to so I could do it. But now, I don't know. I might also start on Fridays aiming for noon my time. And I say that next time I'm off on a Friday from my day job and this time to stream, like I'll need to go do something so that I can't stream before 2. So, this is a good question. So, my assumption is Tusken Raiders are just normal people under the robes because, yeah, because Boba Fett. I mean, now I don't know what George Lucas envisioned, but that was my assumption based on Book of Boba Fett. Well, Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, just based on the fact Boba Fett had been hanging out with them so long and had like Tusken outfit and stuff. But who knows? Like, that would be interesting. Maybe we'll get a Tusken Raider based series and we'll find out all the secrets of what they look like. It would be. I think it would make this episode 2 where Anakin does kill all of the Tuskens. I think it would make it a lot darker and a lot more impactful if they did something. They like Tusken Raiders are just 100% people under the outfits, and they're not any sort of alien species at all, and it's just humans. That this is how they dress to survive the deep, the deserts of Tatooine, and there's some definitely, but there are also things, like if they just made them completely an alien species under there are other things that they could obviously, that would be fun. But it seems like to me it would be a lot more impactful and add a lot of weight to existing Star Wars stuff if they're just regular humanoids under there. But, what do I know? I've just been watching Star Wars for almost 50 years. That would be kind of cool if they looked like Orko. It's funny, there was all this push recently, like, we're going to see Orko for the first time ever. And it's like, y'all, there is a book released through Dark Horse that's been out for a while that has, it's like on that clear cellophane type paper, and it has this costume, and you lift it under it, there's another clear cellophane page that has what Orko looks like under his outfit, based on the original Filmation design of what he looks like under there. And it annoyed me when everyone's like, we're gonna see him for the first time ever. It's like, no, we're not. We've seen it before. That's what annoys me when I'm watching like videos or live stream on YouTube, where it's like, especially when it's a channel that should know better. Like, I'll just leave it at that. It was somebody who makes Masters of the Universe content who, at one point, was involved with making the toys. Who should have known that this thing existed because allegedly you're the type of person who manages a brand and you don't know. Come on, bro. Come on. So, I don't even know if that video is still up. Might have gotten copyright struck. So. But it just annoyed me. I was just like, no, that's not true. But I don't know who I'm talking about. I can't remember. Could be anyone. So many people fit that description. Woot. Sounds good, Oz. I don't know if you heard it or not, but I figured it out because it's like 7 minutes after, but I'm going a little long. But as soon as I'm wrapped up, I am going to make use of the facilities, get more coffee, and then I'll be ready for us to work on our collab. We're almost done. Just have this sleeve left. I'm going to say for 30 minutes-ish. Our little Jawa is coming out quite nicely. Alright, one last sharpen. Not only that, I think this little Jawa will be finishing up this mahogany pencil today. Which means another contender for our Sarah McLachlan, Arms of an Angel, I Will Remember You video montage of pencils that have been retired. Luckily, I have plenty of this color in one of my many Prismacolor sets. So like a Hydra, one goes away and there's 7 more to replace. Oops. Somebody's saying, I'm glad I plowed through this. I was not actually looking forward to coloring this little Jawa for some reason. This has been pretty fun. Maybe I'll start doing this as a challenge on streams occasionally where it's like 30 minutes, gotta finish. It might be fun. Maybe open with a warm-up 30-minute page. It's just sometimes depending on the page, I need that whole 2 hours to finish it, so. When I hit my next YouTube goal, maybe I'll do that as a live stream celebration. And do a stream 2 hours of 30-minute speed colors. I had somebody comment on one of the videos I put, one of the posts to TikTok. And I thought he was joking, but he was like, wow, how do you do that? How do you color that so fast? And like I said, I thought he was joking. I'm like, time lapse and stuff. He's like, oh my God, I would have never thought of that. And that's when I realized he was not joking. I'm like, sir, that video is like 35 seconds that have been compressed down for like 3.5 hours. There's no way I could have colored. And it was like one of the really like elaborate ones. It was like one of the ones where it was like, I shouldn't have done this one as a short. It's too complicated. And bro thought I had literally colored it in 35 seconds. I'm just like, I cannot. I did end up deleting the comment because I was just like, I can't have something this stupid on my video. It's going to annoy me every time. So I just deleted the comment. Yep, you heard it. I will delete stupid comments. It's also TikTok. Like, I will say I tend to get pretty good comments on YouTube. I've only gotten one or two that I would consider like a troll or like an asshole. So I've been very fortunate that way. TikTok is just, I don't know. There are people over there that have no common sense. And I say that with love. I love that for them. But it just makes me feel not as enthusiastic about posting stuff over there, that often the engagement is not the creme de la creme of what humanity has to offer as far as intelligent interactions. It would probably help if I started doing this TikTok shop videos like everyone else does. Oh my god, you'll not believe I cannot live without this product. You have got to buy this potato smasher that looks like a feet with a motor in it. It's going to change your life and how you make potatoes. It's like, yeah. Not so much, Helen. Alright, so we do a little bit here and there. Excellent. And then we will break out the alcohol markers again. And I'm going to do some orange. Because why not? Nope, maybe not. There we go. That orange cap was not wanting to come off. Nameplate. Orange like a vintage bootleg Jawa cape. Somewhere in all of, and I'll get to actually do this quick and simple vintage custom, but somewhere I bought a orange vinyl vest for my Greedo. I think maybe, I don't know if it's the Cape Master who makes them. Somebody on eBay. I bought it during the pandemic and still haven't broken it out to use it. Everything will change now that I have space to display stuff in a work area. Once I clean all the boxes off it. All right, here we are. Yeah, kind of almost. It's kind of what I was. Well, not specifically that one, but I'm kind of digging the cartooniness to it. I don't usually do a lot of cartoon. I mean, you've seen my stuff. Even when it's cartoony, I usually try to add some realism to it, but I can't have fun with this. So maybe I'll start. And again, the pages from the Star Wars book do kind of lend themselves to a cartoony feel. So maybe I'll start on these Star Wars streams at least. We'll do one sort of like Ben, where I try to do all the fancy stuff, and then we'll just do one that's sort of how fast can we do this cartoony look. All right, and on that note, he is done. We did 2 pages today, which makes up for all the months I didn't do any pages. It was a month and a half, but still. The last Star Wars stream I did was a Luke, and that was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So anyway, in the meantime, thank you very much for hanging out with me today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because we are at 2 hours and 16 minutes. I appreciate you all for hanging out and chatting with me. Sunday morning, I am going to be streaming. I don't know what I'm going to stream yet. It was kind of up in the air whether or not I'd be able to do it, so I did not have a guest. So I'm just going to surprise myself. I'm going to randomly pick from my stack of printed pages something to work on, and you'll know when I do, because that's when the thumbnail will go up. So I will see you all Sunday morning at 11 a.m. hopefully, and if not, hopefully in the replay crew. Again, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate you guys. And I will see you in the next one. Go watch the Star Wars Color and Chill that dropped this morning. Han is fighting a probe droid, and he needs your help to not get probed. Yeah, we're ending on that note. So anyway, thank you again. Appreciate you all. I will see you in the next one. Bye.